a premature baby as a condemnation of abortion. And in a certain sense, they're not wrong, because it is. Yeah. All babies, in some sense, are a condemnation of abortion and a proof of this miracle that's taking place. And that's what I keep thinking about with St. Cuthbert. So he witnessed this, and as a result of seeing this miracle, he feels called to give his life to God. And there's so much in our own lives and in our own world that we can't explain. And there's so much that we can't do, like we're helpless, to do. And so really, it's like the arguments for God are so numerous that it's almost counter to rational to take an approach that denies him or that gives him less. And we do it all the time.
I wouldn't even say almost. It is irrational to not believe in God, for sure. And not just because of visible miracles and things that seem miraculous in that sense. It's because of just the very existence of life itself.
Exactly. How can you look at the baby proof and go, I don't believe in God because this is just chance?
Yeah.
No, obviously not. So
exactly.
I think that's one thing to think about as we go through today.
For sure.
And also, remember as you listen to these saints and you learn about them, take that opportunity to say, pray for me today, Saint Cuthbert.
Yeah.
And that's that reminder. Don't forget. You know about them now, so ask for their intercession in your life.
Yes, these are saints, especially when you have these forgotten ones. Obviously, yesterday we had St. Joseph. Great feast, very popular saint, especially in our day and age. But even he was not as celebrated for the first millennium or so of the church. It took time for full devotion to him to flower. And then we have these other saints that you and I love to talk about, Sarah, especially I love to talk about, these forgotten ones who had their heyday and then kind of got forgotten. Again, St. Cuthbert gets overshadowed a little bit by St. Thomas Becket. Far more people have heard of Becket, and with good reason. Very famous, very great example. But we can re-embrace these saints when we find out about them and reestablish some devotion, even if it's just as simple as remembering them on their feast day each year in the way that we do others, and recognizing their anniversary and saying, let me not let devotion to these great saints pass out of my attention, pass out of my knowledge, because these are all part of this immense, amazing heavenly tapestry that God has been putting together over the millennia. And a couple others to mention today for you Irishmen out there. St. Clement of Ireland, another Irish saint in March. They seem to be all over the calendar, especially in March.
Yes, they do.
And the main reason I mention him today is because it falls in line with one of Sarah's interests. He was invited to the Carolingian court by Charlemagne himself, along with his companion Ailbe, because they were these famous teachers of the faith. So St. Clement of Ireland. And then a cool one here, St. Archippus, who was a companion of St. Paul. He's traditionally considered one of the 72 original disciples of our Lord. So one of the biblical saints there. And it's the anniversary of the death of St. John of Nepomuk, St. John Nepomucene, who is a patron of Czechia, Bohemia, and Slovakia, that region. And his feast is on another day. We will discuss him on his feast day, but today is the anniversary of his death, so I thought I should mention him. But the calendar is filled with these saints, and it really does us well to learn about them and ask for their intercession specifically. They are there to help you to become a saint yourself, so don't be afraid of asking for their help.
Absolutely. It's one of these pleasures, I guess, of being Catholic, the fact that you're not alone in this. It's not just you sitting there with the Bible.
Yep.
And you have all these friends that you can ask for intercession. You have people on earth who are there for you, and you have people in heaven who are there as well. Yeah,
they've fought the good fight. They've made it, and they can help you make it too.
Absolutely. You're listening to Rise Right on the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network. Thank you for joining us this morning. Check us out at riseright.org. The Station of the Cross is a listener-funded Catholic media apostolate dedicated to proclaiming the fullness of truth with clarity and charity.
And support for Rise Right and the Station of the Cross comes in part from iCatholic Mobile. iCatholic Mobile is a wireless phone service for individuals and families that provides support to Catholic media, including us, the Station of the Cross. More information about them is available at iCatholicmobile.com.
And coming up on our network at 5 p.m. Eastern, if you're listening live, you can tune into The Catholic Current with Father Robert McTague. He will be discussing who can resist tyranny. The quick answer is you can, and I can, and we must.
Yes.
It's a follow-up from his video series on YouTube. Visit thestationofthecross.com/TCC to find out more. That should be an interesting conversation there.
Absolutely. Very interesting conversation. Very, very, very relevant this day and age. Now, Sarah, I would like to move on to this big story on the Catholic front that we teased at the start of the show. And this is about the, can I say infamous without being too disrespectful? Amoris Laetitia.
It is absolutely infamous.
It is very
absolutely
infamous. And mainly infamous for a certain little footnote that was conveniently forgotten sometimes. Like, oh, I don't remember putting that one there. But much hay was made of that inconvenient or convenient footnote in Amoris Laetitia regarding communion for the divorced and remarried. But the big story yesterday is that Pope Leo has set out this message commemorating the 10th anniversary of Amoris Laetitia. And it's not surprising that Pope Leo would be commemorating something of Pope Francis. He's been doing that quite often so far. But there's some interesting details going on here and some speculation that may or may not be true, but we will cover it. And the summary of yesterday's story is that in this message commemorating the 10th anniversary of Amoris Laetitia, Pope Leo XIV has summoned the presidents of Episcopal Conferences from around the world to gather in Rome in October of this year, 2026, quote, in an effort to proceed in mutual listening to a synodal discernment on the steps to be taken in order to proclaim the gospel to families today in light of Amoris Laetitia and taking into account what is currently being done in the local churches, unquote. It's a little word salady there, especially with synodal and discernment and mutual listening and so on and so forth. But there's some interesting details to this that I would like to get to.
Yeah, I think that you have a more charitable view of this than I do, Jake. And that's okay. I hope that you're right, and I hope that I'm wrong. So I'll go ahead and lead with that. But first, for those who don't know, I think we just need to clarify for a second. Amoris Laetitia was put out by Pope Francis. Yep. So it was a document that was supposed to talk, or that did talk for the most part, on the family, as he was known for. It just kind of talked in circles quite a bit, didn't say very much. It ran into some controversy because of paragraph 8, but also specifically a footnote that changed it changes the doctrine of the church if you were to take it at face value. Because what it says is that it's okay for those who are divorced and civilly remarried to accept communion, which is to say that those who, in the opinion of the church for the past 2,000 years, are living in a state of adultery, can receive communion, which is to say they would be receiving it in a state of mortal sin. And so that's the part that caused so much controversy at the time. And the trouble is, and here's my sort of main issue with where we are now, Jake, is because this was the main thing that differed from the entire teaching of the church in the past, this is the only reason that this document matters. Right? Because everything else that he said in that document pre-existed. Like JP2 said it. I mean, it just kind of like, yes, of course the family matters. Of course, the family is the building block of society. You know, it was like, yes, we agree with all these things, except for this one main point. And so because of that main point became the sort of defining piece of this document, of Amoris Laetitia. So I kind of feel like if Pope Leo wants to bring this back out, and we're sort of there on the, again, 10th anniversary, as you said, and we're re-looking at it and describing it as a luminous message of hope. I think that in itself is leading into scandal. Like, yeah, okay, maybe he has different plans for later, but if you're going to take a document that is most known for change of... I don't want to say changing the doctrine of the church, but it kind of does in essence, you know, with regards to how it comments upon adultery, then I see a serious issue here, because you're taking people and you're saying, okay, well, this is a luminous message of hope. Well, no, not really.
I think the issue here, though, is that he is ignoring that aspect of it entirely. He doesn't mention that subject at all. He's essentially just putting it in the context, again, of St. John Paul II's exhortation, Familiaris Consortio, and he's just talking about it being a a good message about the family and married life and that sort of thing. And he seems to be putting it in the same context as he's spoken of it in the past, where Pope Francis kind of framed a marriage as this, like Catholic marriage as this ideal that it's hard for normal people to live up to. That's why we need to give all these sort of exceptions to the normal actual teaching of the church on marriage and being faithful to it, is because it's this ideal that's really hard to live up to. And already Pope Leo has counteracted that. He said that everyone can live up to marriage. Everyone's capable of it. He has already contradicted that messaging on it. And so there is some precedent here that he's already set for how to approach it differently than Pope Francis approached it. And he is not mentioning any of the difficult details about it at all. That's why I say I'm interested to see if he's bringing it up this quickly as this, we need to discuss it. We need to discuss this document of Pope Francis, because Pope Leo has overturned things that Pope Francis did 2 years ago. As far as little procedural things up to major legal distinctions in the Diocese of Rome and in the Vatican City, Pope Leo has shown no hesitancy to overturn those things. So it's interesting that he's bringing this up right away.
There's a lot that I wish he would overturn.
Well, yes, exactly. Well, but that's my point. That's my point is that not only is he, and this leads into my